Hi boat builders, Larry Lalonde again with Geodesic Aerolite Boats. Today we are going to cover putting on the Kevlar, why you put it on, why it's important, what it does, and then we'll show you how we actually put it on. The reason the Kevlar is important, we get asked a lot, can you build a boat without it? And the answer is absolutely you can. Now I'm going to tell you why I think it's important to put it on there. It does a couple things. The Kevlar, when it's put on, it doesn't seem to be doing much. It's in tension, but the boat's sitting here neutral. What happens when the boat gets some stresses or some forces acting on the hull is some of this Kevlar is going to go into a strong state of tension. It's going to help retain the shape of the hull, retain the integrity and the strength of the hull. So that's one of the reasons to put it on. The other reason is it actually helps to support the Dacron. When you put the Dacron over the boat, you have this stringer, you have the 5 stringers on here, and the Dacron is basically spread along those stringers. There's nothing supporting it except those stringers, so this entire area down through here would be unsupported on the Dacron. And we have a boat we're getting ready to finish up over here. And we got a light underneath here. So hopefully you can see that. You can see the ribs here, which don't support the Dacron. Then you have the stringers down through here, which do support the Dacron. And then the Kevlar roving goes back and forth like this, and it actually has another support structure between the stringers and the Dacron. And again, that helps just to support the Dacron. So instead of having this long strip of unsupported Dacron, it's supported every few inches by a cross of the Kevlar. And that's why it's important to put the Kevlar on there. And so now we're going to talk about how to put the Kevlar on and how you size the Kevlar. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to put the Kevlar on the boat and how to size it after you have it put on. And we sell 2 different types of Kevlar. This is the 5-strand. Not a lot of our boats get the 5-strand. It's, if you can see that or not, there's 5 strands in there. It's tough stuff to work with. It likes to come apart, likes to spread apart and get out of control. And so what you'll do when you're putting on, you put the same process for putting on the 2-strand, but for putting on the 5-strand, you'll clamp it like that. And then when you go across the boat, it's very important to keep it flat. The reason is because this stuff, if it twists, it's going to leave a lump up underneath your Dacron, and it'll show through your finish. So you want to leave it nice and straight when you're going across the boat. Then you clamp it on this side, and I'll show you this loop a little bit later. You leave a loop underneath, clamp it again. Doesn't matter if it's straight down there. Then when you come back across, you're going to keep it flat going back across the boat to where you have your other clamp. And that's how you're going to put your 5-strand Dacron or your 5-strand Kevlar on, because it is very important to keep it flat. But for doing the majority of the boat here, we're going to show you the process. We're going to use the 2-strand because that's what most of our boats use, and it's just a lot easier to work with. So we'll take this off and set it aside. Put it over here. So the first step to putting on the Kevlar is you're going to go down through, I don't know if you can see this, the wood's kind of light. The wood right here has been taped off before varnishing. This frame, everything's installed, it's varnished, it's ready to go. There was some painter's tape across here to keep the varnish off there so you can attach the heat and bond. So what you'll do is you'll go through and you'll put heat and bond on both sides of the rib. This boat's mostly done. We have left a strand off to use for demonstration. You tack one side of it, you leave the other side loose so you can see it's open like that. It's just kind of flopping around. And you do that on either side of all your ribs. So what you'll do to actually put the Kevlar on, once you get all your heat and bond installed, you'll come down through here. You'll put your first piece of Kevlar on. Let's see, where are we starting? Right here. You'll put your first piece of Kevlar on. You don't have to put it underneath the heat and bond at this point, just clamp it. Now the 2-strand, it doesn't matter if you twist it, it's not going to leave a big lump, so you don't have to be quite as careful working with it. you'll come across to the other side, and there's two pieces of heat and bond here. You'll clamp it. You'll leave a loop. You'll clamp it again. Then I usually you leave a little tub up here on top, a little plastic tub. Just keeps it from falling, because once it falls, it's a mess. You go back across to this side, clamp it, leave a loop, clamp it again, go back up to the top, put it in your little tub, go back over to this side, and just keep on going the whole way down through the boat. Okay, so we talked about the process of putting on the Kevlar. Clamping it here, then going across, then back across. The pattern that we use on virtually all of our boats, and you can put it on any way you'd like. We use a 3-rib pattern. You start here, you count down 1, 2, 3 ribs, and it crosses over to that one. Then you count down another 1, 2, 3 ribs, comes down to this one, then back across 3 ribs. So we do a 3-rib cross. And what you want to do, the reason you're using clamps here, first of all, it makes it a lot easier to put it on than trying to iron it on at the same time. Second reason is you'd be surprised how easy it is to get off. On this boat right here, I actually went 2 ribs instead of 3 ribs down there and had to redo some of it. It's not a big deal, but just be careful and come down, do your 3-rib pattern, cross. If you do it right, when you get to the end, you'll see crosses all the way down through. Now this is one we just ran. You'll see crosses all the way down through the keelson right here. That means your Kevlar is done right. If you get down to a point here, I think it was right in here where I made the mistake, the cross was over in here somewhere. That told me I had one that was off, and I corrected everything, came back, and it's all fixed. So that's the pattern you'll use. You'll go back and forth across the boat the whole way, get to the end, cut it off, clamp it, come back the other way, make all your crosses. And at some point, you're either going to have all your Kevlar run, or you are going to run out of clamps. And when you get to that point, you're going to start attaching it with the heat and bond that we put on earlier. Now, I don't know if can you get in close on that? To do this, you'll just pull the heat and bond back like that. Put that underneath there, and then you'll just hit it with an iron. I've got an iron right here, just a second. It's not on, but to give you an idea what you're doing, you pull it like that, pull it tight, put the iron on it for just a second, and then reach in and hold it with your finger for just couple seconds. It's not hot, it's not going to burn you. Just hold it for a couple seconds to make sure it doesn't pull back out of that heat and bond while it's still melted. You go down through and do the whole side of the boat, and then you do the other side of the boat. And when you're doing the other side, you're going to pull it pretty tight. You're going to pull it as tight as you can, hand tight, then hit the other side. And you're going to end up, this actually holds it pretty tight, you're going to end up with Kevlar that's about that tight, which is pretty tight, but it's still not finished tight. So what you do is, at that point, you're going to size the Kevlar, and we're going to show you now how to do that.